Hey, third graders. All right. So, in our last read aloud, Ulysses was downstairs and he was at the typewriter, which is where he was told not to go. So, Flora said that her mom was acting strange and wasn't happy about it, and specifically told Ulysses not to play on the typewriter. And he was seen, and Flora's mother then forced him to type a letter to Flora, and um, and so he was concerned that it was going to hurt her, right? And then he was told that he needed to act. All right, so he knew he should type something, but he didn't know what to type. And the next chapter here is called Kidnapped. So I want you to stop and think for a minute. Why do you think the next chapter is called Kidnapped? What do you think is going to happen here? She woke with a start. The house was incredibly dark, so dark that Flora wondered if she had gone temporarily blind. Ulysses, she said. She sat up and stared in the direction of the door. Slowly, the rectangular outline of it appeared, and then she could see that it was ajar. Ulysses, she said again. She got out of bed and went down the darkened stairs and past the little shepherdess. Stupid lamp, she said. She made her way into the kitchen. It was empty. The typewriter was unmanned or unsquirreled. Ulysses, said Flora. She walked over to the typewriter and saw a piece of paper glowing white in the dim light. Uh-oh, she said. She leaned in close. She squinted. Dear Flora, I am terribly fond of you, but I hear the call of the wild, and I must return to my natural habitat. Thank you for the macaroni and cheese. Yours, Mr. Squirrel. Mr. Squirrel, call of the wild, terribly fond. It was the biggest lie that Flora had ever read in her life. It didn't look like Ulysses had written it at all. Only at the very end did the truth appear. Two letters, F and L. That was Ulysses, she knew, trying to type her name one last time, trying to tell her that he loved her. I love you too, she whispered to the paper. And then she looked around the kitchen. What kind of cynic was she, whispering I love you to a squirrel who wasn't even there? But she did love him. She loved his whiskers. She loved his words. She loved his happiness, his little head, his determined heart, his nutty breath. She loved how beautiful he looked when he flew. She felt her heart seize up. What hadn't she told him? Why hadn't she told him that? She should have said those words to him. But that didn't matter now. What mattered was finding him. Flora hadn't been reading The Criminal Element for 2 solid years for nothing. She knew what was going on. The squirrel had been kidnapped by her mother. She took a deep breath. She considered what to do, what action to take. In the event of a true and genuine emergency, an absolute and undeniable crime, the authorities must be notified immediately, said the criminal element. Flora was certain that this was a true and genuine emergency, an absolute and undeniable crime. Still, it didn't seem like a good idea to notify the authorities. If she called the police, what would she say? My mother kidnapped my squirrel? The criminal element. If for some reason the authorities are not accessible to you, you must seek help in other quarters. Whom do you trust? Whom do you know to be a safe port in a storm? Flora suddenly remembered her dream, how warm William Spiver's hand had felt in her own. She blushed. Whom did she trust? Oh, good grief! She trusted William Spiver. So, what gave it away here? Flora is reading this letter from Ulysses, and she's saying that she doesn't think the letter was written by him. What were some of the clues that maybe he didn't want to write the letter, or he didn't write it totally himself? And why is she saying that her mother kidnapped the squirrel? What are the clues in the story to say that her mom was the kidnapper? Tootie to the rescue. It was 2:20 a.m. The grass was heavy with dew. Flora was picking her way through the darkness. She was breathing heavily because she was carrying Marianne in her arms, and Marianne, for all of her pink cheeks and delicate features and excessive stupid frilliness, was incredibly heavy. Talk about stout, thought Flora. A criminal element. Can one reason with a criminal? That's debatable. But it is true that the rules of nursery school are often in good effect in the criminal world. What do we mean by this? We mean that if the criminal has something you want, then you must have something he wants. Only then is it possible for some kind of discussion to begin. There was nothing and no one that Flora's mother loved more than the lamp. Together, Flora and William Spiver would find her mother. They would offer to exchange the little shepherdess for the squirrel. And then all would be well, or something. That was Flora's plan. But first she had to find William Spiver, and she didn't think it would be a good idea to ring Tootie's doorbell at 2:20 a.m. William Spiver, said Flora. Here she was, standing in the dark holding an unlit lamp and hoping that a temporary blind boy would hear her call his name and come help her rescue her squirrel. A squirrel who, for a superhero, sure did seem to need a lot of rescuing. Things were pretty grim. William Spiver, she said again, William Spiver. And then, without really intending to, she started saying William Spiver's name over and over and louder and louder. William Spiver, William Spiver, William Spiver, William Spiver, William Spiver, William Spiver. There was no way he would be able to hear her, of course. She knew that. But she couldn't make herself stop. She just stupidly, idiotically, hopefully kept saying his name. Florabelle? William Spiver, William Spiver, William Spiver. Florabelle? William Spiver, William Spiver, William Spiver. Florabelle! And there he was, standing at a darkened window, conjured apparently by her need and her description, and her words. William Spiver, or at least the shadow of William Spiver. Oh, said Flora, hello. Yes, hello to you too, said William Spiver. How lovely of you to visit in the middle of the night. There's been an emergency, said Flora. Right, said William Spiver. Just let me put on my bathrobe. Flora felt a familiar prick of irritation. It's an emergency, William Spiver. There's no time to waste. Forget about your bathrobe. I'll just put on my bathrobe, said William Spiver, as if she hadn't said anything at all. And I'll be right there. Wherever there is. It is shockingly difficult to locate even the most obvious things when one is temporarily blind. The world is very hard to navigate when you can't see. Although, to be perfectly frank, I had trouble navigating the world even before the advent of the blindness. I've never been what you call coordinated or spatially intelligent. It's not even that I bump into things. It's more that things leap out of nowhere and bump into me. My mother says that this is because I live in my head as opposed to living in the world. But I ask you, don't we all live in our heads? Where else could we possibly exist? Our brains are the universe. Don't you think that's true, Florabelle? I said it's an emergency. Well then, I'll just put on my bathrobe and we'll sort it all out. Flora put Marianne down on the ground. She looked around wildly in the darkness. What was she looking for? She didn't know. Maybe a stick that she could use to hit William Spiver over the head. Florabelle! Ulysses is gone, she screamed. My mother kidnapped him. I think my mother's possessed. I think she might hurt him. Do not cry, she told herself. Do not cry. Do not hope. Do not cry. Just observe. Shh, said William Spiver. It's okay, Florabelle. I'll help you. We'll find him. And then the light in William Spiver's room came on, and Tootie said, What in the world are you doing, William? Looking for my bathrobe. Tootie to the rescue! The words appeared above Tootie's head in a neon kind of brightness. Tootie, shouted Flora, it's an emergency! My mother has kidnapped the squirrel. Flora? Said Tootie. She stuck her head out the window. Why do you have that awful lamp? It's complicated, said Flora. Again with the lamp? Said William Spiver. What in the world is the meaning of the lamp? My mother loves the lamp, said Flora. I'm holding it hostage. Desperate times call for desperate measures, said Tootie. That's right, said Flora. It's an emergency. I'll just get my purse, said Tootie. So what does Flora mean when she says that she's holding the lamp hostage? What is she going to do with the lamp? How is she going to use it to her benefit in this whole situation? And So we've talked about Flora's relationship with her mom and how they've been back and forth and don't always get along very well. And now her mom made the comment that her life would be easier if Flora didn't live with her, right? So now her mom has gone behind her back and she has stolen Ulysses to try and get rid of him. So now what kinds of feelings do you think Flora's having towards her mom? And what might this do to their relationship with each other? Maybe we'll find out next time. Bye.